And hello and welcome to Magical Journey. I'm your host, Daniel Cahoon. And before we get started today, I want to guide you once again into places to find me. Magicaljourney.com, the website, will give you all of the good stuff. You can find all of my links there. You can also find where to book readings with me. I am doing readings now. Also, you'll be able to find some past interviews where I've guest interviewed with people and a lot other things there on magicaljourney.com. Most importantly, you can find out how to email and contact me there if you would like to. Now, for those of you who have Facebook, if you don't, I don't know what to say. I'm so surprised. We do have a Facebook group and a Facebook page. The page gives you a lot of good stuff on what's coming up as far as program-wise goes. It'll give you a little bit about future programming from time to time. But honestly, if you want to get your full experience, you got to go to the Magical Journey group. That's where I do all of my updates on the daily, and I do a lot of extra stuff. Now, here's the kicker. If you want to go inside the world of Daniel Cahoon and behind the scenes of Magical Journey, you got to go to TikTok. That's where I do all of that work. I know, it's a lot. Bear with me, okay? I like technology. I like social media. Okay. So tonight, I have a very, very special guest. I'm excited because this is my first person from Europe that I am on this show. So this is a big deal for me. I'm really excited. And to top it off, we have a guest from Germany, and you know that is one of my favorite places. Maybe you don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to bring Miss Sandra D to the stage, and I want you guys to give her a very warm welcome in the chat. Hello, hello.
Hello, hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Okay, I want you to give our guest, first of all, a little bit about you, um, what your story is, and then before we get into some of the questions, I want you to promote your social media and anything else that you have to promote that you would like to talk about.
Yeah. I'm to find on TikTok and Instagram at Alien Contactee, and also you can find me at Sandra D on Facebook. And I think that's all. On YouTube, you can also find me. Yeah. Or I'm sure if they have a question and can't find me, they can contact you, and you can contact me.
100%. Yes. Okay, so tell us a little bit about you because you kind of hinted to it in your social media, but let us hear a little bit about you and what your experience is.
Yeah, I'm Sandra D. I'm from Germany, like you said it, and I had all my life interesting kind of what you call it encounters, topics, interests in paranormal topics, and had as a child like already precognition or visions, dreams that came true, and so on. And later in my life, I had contacts to different DT beings. I learned that I'm part of a group from ETs working here. More about this later. I also trained to be an evidential medium to bring forward spirits, deceased humans, but also deceased animals. I'm trained animal communicator. And Yeah, I think, and I also do in my free time train in groups in Germany online students, so they learn it for themselves to be kind of like become a medium or also animal communicator, and also meeting people who are interested in the topic of ETs and UFOs, but also people who have experiences, so we can share with each other um, the experiences, the topics, and see what fits or who wants to believe in what. And yeah, everybody has different experiences, so sorry if I mix it sometimes up. I'm German in my mother language, so sometimes it's difficult to find the right words to explain it. I try to explain it around if there are difficulties.
No, you're doing fine. You know, honestly, people who are native speakers of English do a much worse job of speaking the language a lot of times than people who have a second language of English. Uh, it's it's just a thing here. It's just a thing. There are people that have been here all their life that I don't understand half the time how they're because it's just confusing. But with that said, now let's get into a little bit because I'm very interested in the contactee experience. But what was what was the thing that really started you off? What was the event that started you to understand that this is a very different path than what I would have thought I would be taking?
Yeah, there were little contact sightings before, but the main experience that changed it all and told me it was all true, what I kind of thought would be true, was one morning in January last year. 23rd January last year, I woke up and I was levitating, laying in
Wow.
kind of this position over my bed, and there was a person, a being, whatever you want to call it, an ET standing in the end of my bed, holding my bedding up, and I was lowered down onto
Wow.
my bed, and I had knowledge in my head that they bring me back. I had knowledge in my head that they said that the disclosure will start soon, like just the topic of disclosure, not the main disclosure. We know that, yeah. And then he put the bedding down and vanished, and I knew that I was on the craft, and I had a little bit of pictures still in my head, how we stood there, how we talked there, and I was laughing like crazy already when I got conscious, and my dog was still asleep. So I think they used the technology that he couldn't wake up. And it was so fascinating, and that was, I knew that this is not a dream, and yeah,
Right.
that was the main part of all of it. And then I told it in my groups I already had, and in my family, at least the ones that believe in it, and said that about the disclosure. And 2 weeks after, I think most people remember, it started that this Chinese balloon flew over US, and then the
Mhm.
drones that were shot down, and that told me again that it is or real, that the topic came up so big in the media. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, that experience was very interesting, to say the least. And I'm sure for many people it was very confusing at the time, with the balloon coming over. Yeah. Um, so you you are a medium, a psychic medium, correct? When did this start in your life? When did you first start noticing that you had something going on that a lot of people just don't talk about?
Okay. In my childhood, we had already like people, I think it was people, I don't know what it was, walking around in my house when nobody was there. When I was alone, I heard it always. My friends heard it once, and at the same time we did for fun, or say I was too scared, this Witcher board game. And I thought, oh, I will be cool and tell them if they can hear. And I was like, hey, do you hear the steps upstairs? They're like, yeah, I hear it. And I'm like, we are alone, right? And they said like, no, who is it? Because I had a big family, many brothers and sisters. And I'm like, no, you can look. There's nobody there. This is our house ghost. And in the end, they decided to never ever visit me again. So kind of bad, but it was okay. And it was weird because even so, I was fast scared always. This never scared me to hear them, whoever it was walking around. And later on, when my father died, I was before always interested in reincarnation. I believed in it. And I heard about my grand aunt that she can see dead people walking around on the streets. And so it was kind of in the family. I heard about it before. And when my father died, he visited me in the dream in the moment he died. He showed me how the hospital called that he died and what they say. And I woke up and looked on the watch and went back to bed because there was no call, but I had the time and went to sleep. And then I woke up to exactly, it's not like sometimes you have similar things, but it was exactly the same. The phone call, it ring, I wake up, and it was exactly the same words, exactly the same phone call. And later in the hospital, I said when I asked when he died, and I told them I know when because I got this phone call. I told them, I told my brother. They were like,
Wow.
and they were like, oh, let me see. I wasn't there. I have a little piece of paper. So they brought the paper, and it was the same time as they wrote it. It was in the middle of the night, and they wrote it down. I was like, yeah, that's true.
Wow.
That was to definitely know that they can do immediately a lot of things. And then a year later, I think it started that I noticed when I have my little conversations in my mind with my father, how you talk like when you miss someone, that the answers that come back are not what I would have thought of. Kind of, okay, why do I make this conversation up now? And then I figured out what it is, and he told me like, I will give you proof it's me. And I'm like, okay, sure, give me proof. And he said, I will send you dogs. I'm like, what do you mean you send dogs? Because he mostly talked with me when I was outside for walks. It's like your mind is open, you're in a meditated state, kind of, or at least I. And in a week, it was never before in all the years, there was one day there was this massive dog just sitting. I could see it from further away. I was thinking it was a statue, and I come closer, and there was this dog sitting, like just waiting for me, and then walking on the street to me. And I kind of figured out he probably lived there where he sat on the ground. So I went to the door, and the door was a tiny bit open. So I rang the door, and the lady said, oh, she didn't notice her door was open. How could it happen? And so I was like, okay, thank you, goodbye. I was like, okay, coincidence. And I think it was 3 days later, another walk, and far in the distance, you could see how a little dog was running over. There were houses, and then there was a bit open, like fields, and you could see how he runs on the street and kind of know exactly where to go, like right, left, right, directly to me. Like he knew just the way
Wow.
where I need to go. And I was like, okay.
That
One
is
is
cool.
coincidence, but two not. And I said, so I looked for the owner and finally found the house and ring the end again. They said the door was open. somehow,
Mm.
and they closed definitely the door. And I was like, okay, Dad, I understand. Keep please the dog safe and don't open the doors. And keep them inside. Yeah. And then I knew, yeah, it's definitely, from there. Then I went into the topic and found a place where I could learn to use it properly.
Wow. Yeah, that would be, I can't even imagine. I, I would probably be like very curious right off the bat as to what, because it's almost as if the universe was just like opening the door for these dogs to come out and say, "Hey, we need you to wake up now."
Yeah,
Um,
I
so
think,
that is so cool. Your story is very interesting indeed for me because there's the whole thing with just the dream sequences that happen so just like boom 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 in order, uh,
yeah,
the
sure.
and
There was
then
time in between. It wasn't at the same time. It was over months and months. But yes, it was
right,
kind of many different things coming together. Yeah.
right, it's like it's very interesting because in our mind most people, like when we're just thinking on the human level, you know these experiences we try to put it together and reason it out and make sense of it. But the magical part of these experiences is they are beyond the perception of normal human thought. It's easy to perceive when you open your mind to it and understand, okay, but it doesn't fit the cookbook recipe of what we think on a daily basis life should be, if that makes sense. So I find people's story very interesting. And you're right, no two people have the same experience ever, which is really amazing and really beautiful. So let's talk for a bit. I'm curious about the experience because you talk about, and this is a common theme with a lot of contactees, is the like a galactic communication. Now, do you are you can you explain that a little bit more and go into a little bit of about what that is?
You mean about how I talk with them, or
Well,
how?
I guess what I'm trying to get to is like, do you are you in contact with a group of very different groups of beings? Are they like a almost like a galactic council? Is that what?
Okay. Yeah, I'm in contact with many different beings, and I made also regression to find out what and how and why in the beginning. And so I saw also past lives, where I was different beings. For example, was I when you do a regression, you often see in the groups that you want to be the best and the most beautiful being in the universe, right? I know that many want to be a Pleiadian or Arcturian, and so I was very excited, like, oh my God, what would it be? So I did this regression, and I was very shocked because when I went into it, I looked down, and the first thing I saw were very long gray toes, like with the feet, but the toes go right until where the leg starts. I was like, "What the heck? Where did I where did I end here?" So it wasn't,
Wow.
and it was kind of a gray Sitta reticuli, a good species from them, the Shambhala. But at that time, I was very scared of all gray beings. Even so, I was very interested in it. When you watch all these documentaries about the greys, abductees, and then it's maybe late at night when they show it, you get
Oh,
scared about
jeez.
it. So I was very surprised that I didn't get such nice Arcturian or Pleiades.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that could be, yeah. I don't even know how I would relate to that if that was to be the case, where you're like something that you're very fearful of, you wind up realizing you're part of, in a sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
But luckily, like I said, it was a good being, or at least I was a good being, and also had a lot of emotion. We had it, even so we didn't show it so much on the face, but telepathic, we did it. And I saw how I worked on a science ship, and together with a human looking woman who was from Lyra, and we were doing getting like probes from the here from Earth, from the volcanoes and stuff, from the Earth, from the ground. And I kind of got a bit bored. I wanted to go more into the life, the animals, and other beings. And so there was this. Maybe it was kind of a council, but there was a request that they look for beings who help to civilize the Earth. It was, at least in my regression, I called it just Project Earth.
Hmm.
And I tried to get in, and I saw or relived how I got the answer that I'm accepted into this project, and how I got very excited on the craft, and then went back to my planet to say kind of goodbye to all my family members, to then incarnate into another being in the Anunnaki, to
Hmm.
then go on Earth. And the most interesting part for me was that the Anunnaki, before they went to Earth, um, before the humans were there, or the humans how they are like now, um, that they didn't know they were in this project. So even so, for our point of view, we think of them back then as very high evolved and high technology having beings. uh, they were also kind of what would you call it, pushed in the right direction without them knowing from higher beings. They thought it's all their idea. They come because of a reason on Earth to rescue their place and stuff, and then they were just part, like we are part in all this. Yeah, it was
So
fascinating.
that is very interesting in itself. And what is what do you believe about time and space as far as um, how does that correspond in how you see things?
Oh yeah, now it gets difficult, and I try to explain it. It's always it's a different if you know the information, but you experience so much more, so it can be sometimes too much if you tell it and not thinking about. Some people don't know anything about it. So with time, yeah, we have time here, and I don't talk about time like the clock. You look on the clock and have a time. It's about that something happens and it takes a while. Even so, we only see the now if we don't record it or something. But out of here, in the higher dimensions, there is no time. So many people use the words higher self, and they are higher self. There's the astral realm, but then there's the realm beyond the astral, and there is no time. It's a bit like when you play here on a computer and you play a game, for example, where you build a city. You have the different years that go forward, and but you are outside of the game. In the games there are different years that goes forward, and you can go into it and even open different windows or play back or forward or go in it at a different time, in a different moment. And I think it's the same here.
Wow. Wow. That's actually a very good way of explaining that. So, when it comes to the other lifetimes,
Mhm.
are those lifetimes that were and are no longer, or are those lifetimes that are on a different timeline, if that makes sense?
Yeah, there are also many different times. Yeah, now it gets complicated. Yeah, so from your higher self, like, because I once was in my higher self, I went into the astral and I was shown like parallel lives, and it was so interesting because I was outside above the astral in this woman, and it was no problem that they showed me three parallel lives right now that are alive on Earth, two males and one female life, and it was no problem at all that it was all at the same time, all this information that I could look into it in the time and in their astral life, in their Earth life. And I forgot your question, sorry.
But
Sometimes
it's okay, because sometimes I forget what I
yeah,
get it. I get it. Believe me, I get it.
yeah.
The older
So
I get, the more I get like that.
yeah, with the timelines and the lives, so I think you can incarnate in future and past. I know, for example, even so I had many lives on Earth as a human, and
Mhm.
when you are a human you are more connected, like in when you do regression, you go into past human lives, you can even go into other past human lives. um, the last life, when we talk about time from our perspective, the last life before I incarnated here wasn't on Earth. They come from the future, and that is where all this connection with my work, with the Anunnaki and the what many call Galactic Federation is. That I lived in the future with them on another planet, and we were shown from whoever
Mm.
worked on it what will happen with Earth, and decided together uh, with our people on the planet, first in our own group and with the whole federation, that it's time to that we need to stop it so that the Earth wouldn't be destroyed in the future, from not right now but in the future, and now is the best time to stop it all. And so the whole federation went back through time because it's no problem. They have the highest fleet, the highest technology. Like Ashtar is the leader. Many know Ashtar, yeah. Ashtar is the main leader of the whole fleet from the whole federation, even so he has his own small command. Um, but the federation is not exactly what most people think, because when they channel these beings, they think a lot about them like angels or doing good. Sure, they are there
Yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
good, but this federation and this fleet is a military fleet. It's kind of the universe military for Source, who looks after that there are some kind of laws. It's called like the law of one, the law of like for that everything can live kind of in harmony and in balance. And it's not only just that they don't do anything. Sure, they try to stop wars first with negotiations, with talks. They have extra fleets and parts so that are like neutral zones where nobody is allowed to use weapons, so they can talk. But if they don't talk and if they do very bad things, then they fight and destroy the enemy and rescue other beings and destroy the places. It's like proper fight, proper military fight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the things that, as like what most people kind of perceive is they have this feeling of um, wonder, and at the same time dread, as far as, I mean, we've had uh, unidentified craft fly over sensitive military bases and so forth, uh, especially like in like way back in the 60s and 70s and so, craft would fly over not only our country but other countries as well, and they would disarm nuclear facilities and so forth. And it was becoming such a problem that a lot of the world governments was like, oh, this could be very bad for us,
Yeah.
because they didn't quite understand the purpose at the time. And I don't think they fully understand now.
Yeah, yes, they have their own agenda and kind of. Many know about deep dark stuff. Now it comes more open, and these secret Earth military. This is kind of the enemies of the Federation because they do a lot of bad stuff. Not only here in the whole solar system, even so. Um, Many people don't believe it. It is how it is that many countries, in Germany, for example, definitely since the Second World War, that we have crafts and that they spread in the solar system, many on the moon and on Mars. And they control and enslave people there, and they do it with lies. Like, for example, on Mars, um, they control these people. The system is a bit different. It's all like soldier, military people. They all have ranks, and then special. Um, it depends on the rank what they're allowed to do, if they're allowed to marry, if they're even allowed to go outside. They're like in underground cities. And I talked with some of these Mars humans, and um, they didn't want me to believe that I come from Earth because they are told there that Earth was destroyed a long time ago, and that's how they get controlled. Like there's only Mars, there's no other planet in the near distance where they can go. It's like they learned it how they live there, and that's all. So
Yeah.
and also on the moon, there was a base from Earth military and Grace, bad Grace, that works there together and made bad stuff. And so we went to them, and me and Enki, and probably many know Enki. Enki is kind. Who was that? Okay, my stuff makes. Maybe they don't like that I talk about it. Okay, so that was weird. Stuff falls down. I never had this. Okay, anyway, yeah, um, yeah. The military also doesn't like to that I talk about it. Enki is kind of above Ashtar. Enki and Isis are the main divine energies from the system here, from the universe, and they are kind of the boss of Ashtar. And so I went with Enki on a mission on Mars. I helped translating for the Greys some of the. I didn't know I speak Grey, but because of my incarnation as these kind
Wow.
of Grey beings, I kind of could talk then. So we went into the base and said, "You have to stop. You evacuate the space. You have 3 days. You stop it all, and if you don't, yeah, then we will destroy the base in 3 days." And then we left. So we give them the chance. It's not the first opportunity that we destroy everything. And but like the military is, they thought they're better because they thought they're the masters. Many think they're masters, and they're told they are the best and want to take over even the whole universe. Not nice. And so in the end, after the 3 days, we destroyed the space. Because they didn't, so that we also do, we destroy the stuff. And yeah.
So yeah, it sounds as complicated there as it is here in a lot of ways. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and
how
I
they
think,
control them. Yeah.
yeah, and we have these large groups of people here who want to believe that, all non-earthly life is all like rainbows and unicorns and, happy all the time and all this. And what we fail to remember is that, life is life, and it's the rules of life don't necessarily change in, especially in this realm. Um,
Yes. Yes. It is
it,
like with the humans. There's everywhere good ones and bad ones, and you can't even, okay, if they're very high beings, because they wouldn't be very high if they're not spiritual evolved, but even in the higher dimension, like 4, 5, 6 dimension, um, the species can have good ones and bad ones, and there are also many who would be good, but the bad ones force them to also do bad stuff, kind of like they're a worker, slave, or whatever. So, for example, many Greys or Nordics are forced by the reptilian Draco Empire to work for them and do the dirty stuff, even so they wouldn't normally do that. Yeah. From and For many races, the humans are a very bad race, because humans are very aggressive, because of we like to fight, like in the systems they know, the crafts, they are all like very police military. They like to take over planets. They have even like clones or like android, like robot beings, but they look like humans. And I wasn't long ago, maybe last month, I talked with one of these android beings, where they go with the conscious in this body, and they told me how they normally don't. They have no real blood, like they have synthetic blood, and I was asking about if they eat and drink, and they said they can eat and drink, but they normally don't do. But their body can do it, and even go uh, to get the liquid out again.
wow.
um, but the reason they do it, I was like, why, if you don't need it? And they said, so that people on the planets they visit feel more comfortable and safe around them. So the similarities. And then was
Hmm.
like, oh, why? From your point of view, when you're like military. And they said, to take them over after, like they would kind of, it's not like to then also be friends, but they will first come in, and then when
Hmm.
they're all there and stay safe, they will say, okay, now you leave the planet or work for us, and it's now our planet. Yeah. So yeah,
Wow.
I
Wow.
was a bit surprised, a lot.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit because I this is interesting, uh, but there's other things about your experience that I find very interesting too. Um, we've touched on the animal communication.
Mhm.
So here is, and when we think of animal communication, most of the time we think about communication with cats and dogs and and all the nice fluffy animals, but you probably can communicate with all animal species, correct?
Yes, you can kind of. I didn't try and all of them yet, but I've quite many. I have my own, like also reptiles, spiders, and you can talk with them. I try not to talk with the ones who will be feeders later, because I would feel like the little insects, like, oh hello, but now goodbye. My gecko is hungry. It's kind of. Um, but after that, if I need to feed them, I also talk with because you can talk with the living animals and the deceased animals. It doesn't matter. The interesting part is that they are very connected to their higher self. So it even works in my group, where we make these exercises when we all talk with the same animal at the same time, even so it's asleep. It doesn't matter at all. It's all possible.
Very interesting. So this question may be fairly unique because of my own experience with what we call here mind speak. which is basically telepathy with animals. Have you had communication with um, with animals that are considered by many to be mythological?
Um, you mean like dragons, like these kind of mythological, and yet I had being the problem is here with these mythological animals, if you would count them as animals or more as a person, because many of these mythological beings are more like in the category of a person because of
Humanoid, yeah.
their consciousness and the work. Sure, animals here would be on another level, also more like persons, but here with the work and the love and how we see them, they count as animals. So it's a bit quite difficult. They're spirit animals you also can communicate with, but also there are many beings like on other planets who looks different, but then there are also these beings like for example, the beings that are more like what many call dogmen, like wolf,
Yeah, yeah.
or half goat and half person, but these are really like more like persons for me. So
Yes,
because
yes.
many species on other planets look very different, like lion, like mantids, massive mantids, and this is then here they go into fairy tales, but they're just another species on another planet. So it's quite difficult to count this as animal communication on this part. Um, but I would say, question if I would say yes, um, but there's so many. It's difficult to categorize it.
It is. It is. And even like when I'm dealing with people here, and we discuss the concept of especially communication with Dogman, Sasquatch, or probably you're familiar with the term Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Um,
girls, yeah.
yeah, those creatures, the Yeti, those things, those beings. It gets very complicated here because a lot of them, a lot of people want to put them in the category of being Nephilim. If that's, are you familiar with the Nephilim?
Sure, with the Anunnaki, there comes a Nephilim, right? So I'm at least
Okay, okay, yeah.
what for me is the Nephilim. Um, so for me, it's more the perspective that many that see these beings um, compare them to the animals we know here. So if they see like this massive dog-looking being, or like a Sasquatch, looks more like we see monkeys in zoos, or apes. I think that's the right word in English. But indeed, it's not an ape at all. It's more like it's just a humanoid, like another species, and the dog beings too. It's a bit different because there are two possibilities. There's these different species that mostly look like this, but then there are beings who can change how they look like, even humanoid looking, like even ascended masters, or also some of the Anunnaki, or for example, the divine ones, Enki, Isis, they can change their looks. They can look like dog man, or probably also Sasquatch. I never saw them using that, but they would more like then use animals like a lion, dragons, but also like more like a werewolf, or like how Anubis is depicted, for example. Um, so for me, it's very difficult alone that there's a special word. This you call it? Is it? or cryptology or something. You have a special word in English?
Cryptozoology. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cryptozoology.
Combination of both. Okay, good. Because and that the first time I saw it, it was very difficult because I was thinking like, okay, what do you mean with it? Is it now in an animal category? Do you think it's an animal, or do you think it's a person and another kind of being? This in between is maybe I'm too difficult, because I think the problem is that many think of ET, even so many have this experience when they think about it. It's not here. They think more about in the astral about it, more like spirit. And with animals and so on, this is all we see it like here. And when they see the first time ETs here in 3D, like real, this is a big difference. And maybe that's why they can't put it in this other category, because then it's too real. It's like, oh, it's the same density. It's like here. We need to put it extra because it doesn't fit in the animal category because it's intelligent, but it can't be ET, it can't be from another planet because it's here and it walks around in our landscape, so it must be something very grounded and intelligent. So
it's very complicated because we want to think in the finite human concepts of things.
We need to put everything in boxes.
We do. And so, and then when we get to that point, if you want to talk about the thing that really messes everybody up, is the concept of, for instance, Mothman. Where in the lineup does Mothman fall? Because the phenomena that revolve around the Mothman are very different in many ways than in early reports. John Keel talked about the Mothman using the telephone to communicate with them at one point. It's very that particular entity in itself literally begs the question: at what point is our understanding of categorizing these creatures, these people, these individuals kind of messed up? I mean, we think we don't even like to acknowledge ourselves as being animals, but in fact, Homo sapien is not a plant.
Yeah, and then there comes all this light spirits, like the elemental beings and what they call fairies, and with other density or dimension. And this again is a whole nother thing where they put these all in, and it's not easy. I wonder in what box. I mean, we know from the Bible kind of where they put it, but I wonder where would people put it if they see now a humanoid figure with wings, not like the Mothman, but more humanoid, like an angel. Where would they put it in, right? Or where did they put it in when they saw it in real back then? Because I'm sure they also were very real, like the Mothman. Just that they didn't have these different boxes, the religion boxes, and not the species science boxes like we have now.
Right. And I often wonder now if modern people really got a good look at several different angels, what would be their thought on that? Because some of those guys are not, they don't really fit the common denominator of the tall, beautiful winged creatures that we think of them as being. There's a reason why the angels, when they would appear, would say, "Fear not."
Yeah.
A beautiful being would not necessarily say that. So it's food for thought.
They could, they could also change a lot, but they are also very connected to the Anunnaki, the Elohim. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, very much so. And it's very interesting when when I'm looking at the confusion of our understanding here a lot of times, especially in the part of the United States that I live in. It's very like the southern part is very fundamentalist Christian, extreme, like very like what's the word I'm looking for? The they're denominationally they're very different. A lot of them they are Protestant, very Protestant. That's the word I'm looking for. So their interpretation of the Nephilim is that the Nephilim are children of fallen angels and humans.
Yes, and they are. They are. There was the Elohim and the Nephilim. As far as I know, I can say what I believe. In the end, the people who watch it need to decide what their truth is or what they believe in. Yeah, what feels right, as long as it doesn't come out of fear, feeling it. So, for example, and what I remember, when we came here as the Anunnaki and we made these humans, we took these different apes, like these different humanoid apes, and we took our DNA. And because I was a science before in the craft, right, as a gray, I also was a science back there. So I was involved in all these DNA stuff we did. And we tried many, and some were a bit bad because some got very intelligent, but still very animalistic. So very aggressive, much more aggressive, like we are now. That was not so good. And it's not like you would think maybe a few weeks you do it. It was thousands of years until we had the right human. Even so, in the text, it sounds like it was just one circle or something. No,
Right,
it
right.
took it took time. And so there you have the Anunnaki and the humans. And when the Anunnaki and the humans, when they even so it wasn't allowed later on, some of them had children, that was so the Anunnaki were the Elohim, they were the real angels, the fallen angels. And but then again, there's also difference between fallen angel and fallen angels, bad ones and the good ones.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
it's very complicated. So these children from these both, these are the Nephilim, and some of them because of the genes because the humans were hybrids of the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki sometimes didn't have the gene that stops the growing. So some of them became very big, like because of this mutation. They just grow and grow and grow and grow and and they lived for a long time. They didn't have like now, so they became massive, massive titan. And that was for some use the word Nephilim also for the Anunnaki. That is also correct. It was also used for them, but also like for the hybrids then. Yeah, and then later on in the pharaohs like Akhenaten, they had then the help of the Zeta Reticuli that I was incarnated before, the Shambhala, the Sham, to civilize Earth. And so they made hybrids from the humans who are already like the Anunnaki and the apes, and put then part of the Zeta in it. So that's why they got then these very long, gated heads, and that they used as bodies where they went in when the Anunnaki left the Earth. To the ones that stayed went into the bodies of these hybrids. Yeah, that is what I think is for me a Nephilim.
yeah. That is pretty much. I feel like what the people here in this area believe for the most part, which is very interesting to me. I'm still have I am I've ventured back and forth on what, like, I haven't quite gotten the full dose, if you will, of what my my thoughts on the Nephilim really are yet.
Mhm.
Definitely still researching that. Um, the so when you have these experiences where you communicate with different types of beings and so forth, I I want to go back for a moment to the cryptids. Have you had contact with the cryptids before?
You mean with the different beings?
Yes. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So I had
yeah,
with these wolf beings, and I had with
yeah,
some kind of goat beings before. They were very interesting because they don't think good about humans. They were uh, some type of um, he looked a bit like, I don't know if you know Pan, the movie
yeah,
Pan and with
yeah.
the labyrinth. He looked like this, and he the friends who are living in America, and they
Mhm.
had big trouble. So I was looking into what's going on, who makes trouble there. So I found out there's this being, and um, he told me that deep underground they have kind of a base there, and that the
Yeah.
country itself is kind of holy for them, and they were, even so these the people that lived there were for us very good people, for them he was he didn't like it what they did. He was saying like, yeah, they just cut it, the trees and the grass, and not even like thanking or saying sorry to nature. For me, it was a bit weird, but it was what we don't think when we cut the bushes, right? And he was like, he was not even preparing or saying like when sometimes in cultures where they when they kill an animal or something, um, they say like thank you for that we can
Mhm.
have your meat and please find your soul, not to the respect
Mhm.
that they didn't have it. they they hated it. Yeah, they hated the humans. He was very angry, so I explained him a little bit that in the end we are all working together with sirs, and it was okay, but he told me they need to learn it to respect the nature and not just think about only
It's
because they want a path or a place for the car now that they can cut down all the trees there. Yeah. So,
right, right. Well, and that is kind of the communication that I've gotten from them too, is why they're they're not really pro-human, is because of our blatant misuse of
they have,
nature.
they have very
Even
different
our
laws. Yeah. Their laws
oh
are
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even in our federally protected, our government protected national parks and so forth, they're very, I mean, people throw garbage everywhere now. They spray paint graffiti on rocks and all kinds of things. On government land now, they have no respect. And one of the things that was said to me recently by one of them was, these are the reasons why we are now becoming more, you know, more vocal. We're becoming more, our presence is becoming more known because we want you to have respect. And, and some of them even gone as far as saying, if we have to scare you into respect, we will. And of course the dog men, they just don't care. They're kind of like, you act like an animal, we're going to treat you like an animal. And that's kind of their view on a lot of humans here. So I get really upset when I see people misusing and abusing nature, because this is not, we did not, we do not have the authority to do what we're doing to this planet.
Yeah, and it's not like we learn it just a stick, just a plant, and rip it apart. And for them, they know the true nature. They know that everything has a soul, has a consciousness, and how it's all connected in the different dimensions and the energies. And yeah, they can't understand why we can't understand. So that makes it
Right.
not easier. But like you said, the scaring is right. Like at least the guy, the person. Yeah, for me they are all like persons. I said the goat man. He didn't want to hurt them really. It was first like a bit trick or to scare that they go away, like keep them alone and at least trick them and then really scare them, but not like others say, like not like destroy them, but scare them a lot. And if
Right.
they can't get scared away, because even so they scared, because of these thoughts of protecting the souls and energies, they see it the same with the people. They hate them, but they know they're also conscious beings with souls. They have also to respect them, even so they hate them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it is very difficult to explain to other human beings that our concept of these creatures, it goes the same way with domesticated animals, though. There are domesticated animals who will put up with a lot from us. And then there are domesticated animals that will put up with certain things to a point with us. Dogs, for instance. You can be very unkind to dogs for a period of time, a lot of species, and they'll tolerate it. But eventually, the dog will get angry and attack you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cats not so gentle. They can be a
They
little
have no
crazy.
minds, they are free minds, but they are also good protectors because they see
They're
much more.
yeah,
Yeah.
extremely good protectors. But
Yeah.
again, they can be very intolerant of bad behavior from humans, and that's one
Yes.
of the things that we have to understand, that just as humans act, all creatures have the potential for being, good, protective, combative, protective of the natural law of things. These are things that more and more we're slowly waking up as a species to understand, and in some cases, very slowly understand. I have found this to be a very exciting interview, and I knew I would. You offer a lot of very good insight and have a very good message to teach people.
Yeah. I wanted to say one thing that I just popped in my mind that is important to know. I mean, my team knows best what I need to say,
Yeah.
because that is also to the topic of the Anunnaki and the team. And I think it's about because they want to prepare people when they show up sooner or later. And I think it will be sooner than later. That, I mean, they're already here, but to show themselves publicly, that many people think about. There's one person, especially in the Anunnaki family, that has very bad reputation. You call it reputation, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's Enlil. Enlil is also commander on the Galactic Federation with his own group. And even so many think he's a bad guy, yeah, he's definitely not. Even so many told so. Yes, he was the one with the idea with the flood in the very past, but from where we come from, it's a long time ago. We all did bad stuff and learned in other incarnation. Karma came to us, like to all. And now even so, he still doesn't like humans so much because of our nature. He helps now to free us and to make the world a better place and to free them. And that's, I think it's very important that people know that he is not our enemy. He helps us to fight the enemy. So yeah, so now I told it here, so they should be happy about it.
Yes, thank you for that. Definitely. Um, one, I think, again, we as individuals need to learn to open our minds to understand that our perceptions sometimes are incorrect. They're not, we are not the definitive final answer to anything. And we're still learning to grow and understand. One other thing I do want to ask you about before we close out tonight. You had mentioned the Ascended Masters
Yes.
at one point. Now, this is a subject that's very, very, very close to me. Um, how do the Ascended Masters fit into your view of the universe and
The
yeah.
Ascended Master are the ones who growth through incarnation and training to the 33rd, what would you call it, layer of consciousness, the Christ consciousness. They learn to be eternal with the body. They can't die. Sure, our soul lives forever, but they also live forever in the bodies. And on the fleet, especially, the fleet is big, but the main craft where Ashtar is on, this is the craft of the Ascended Masters. So they're only like, they all look human because the human's body is really the best body in the end. Even so, maybe you hope for, there are many different bodies, but the human body is the best from the layer of what would you call it? Evolution in a spiritual way. I don't want to go too deep into that topic. Maybe another time. There are different reasons because of the energy, how you can work with it, and so on. And just when was it? 2 weeks ago, we had a big meeting on the craft with all the Ascended Masters, but not from them now or from the Federation back, but from different timelines. It was the time where Enki said we start the countdown to finish all the bad at once, because okay, now it goes back to Bible or prophecies. It said that only the second coming, only the one guy knows when it will be, and that's Enki, because Enki is the boss in it. He decide when we will go, and he gave the countdown and got all the Ascended Masters together in a big meeting. And some of them laughed at us because I trained them to drink Coca-Cola. So they were like, why would the master and you, Enki, and Ash? Okay, Ashta likes cola. The good part is they don't have the problems. They don't burp. They don't have the it's not unhealthy for them. They can just enjoy the taste. So anyway, we work all together. They are all there, yeah, because they work for Source. They want the highest best outcome. And Enki, the plan was before, but they, or more like Isis, she talked all the time, said it's time everybody to their position. So they're all going into their position so that we finally can get rid of of, I would say, the evil or um, the control over the earth from not so nice people, beings, whatever. And that's how they fit in. I work very close with them together, and not just I don't. It's not like that I channel them. Yeah, they can change chats. They can change pictures. They can write in a messenger in every chat they want. They just pop in the middle, and I'm like, what? Who are you? And they're like, yeah, it's me from the craft soldiers, but also the masters. And um, and I meet them, I work with them in person. It's not just like in the astral, in the dream. They're always with the fleets, the crafts above, here around me, and around the earth, and they're all ready for the big finish line, I would call it. And that's how they fit all in. Saint Germain, and even, for example, is there, and even they are here from different times because they come from the future and from the past, but also would be here in the present, in inner earth, for example. There are sometimes 2 or 3 the same beings and masters from different times or timelines. Alone this year, I changed 2 times this timeline, so they all come together, and it's all a big thing. They're all very, very excited, and for me, they are not so high away like with Ashtar. They're more on the same level, more human.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, so I feel like this was a very good. Oh, yes, this was definitely a very good interview. I'm very pleased that we got
I'm
the
glad.
opportunity to come together tonight, because it was just very interesting that we like I was aware of your presence in the group recently a lot more, and when I said to you, I would really like for you to come on, and you were so open to it, I was like, yes, now we're going to do this. So thank you. I appreciate that very much. Your openness to share with us tonight.
Thank you that I could talk here and spread the information. And I think right now it's very important that people open up and be ready to learn that there's much more as we are taught official. Yeah. The next year
Yes,
will be exciting.
I feel like it will. Yes, definitely, definitely. Okay. If you will hang out for just a moment, I'm going to close out the show, and then I will be right back with you.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Sandra D. And I have to tell you, that was a very extremely good interview. I was very like it fell into place at just the right time, as always, in just the right way, as always. So thank you guys for watching and joining in. I would like for you to remember again magicaljourney.com and Magical Journey on Facebook, the group. And until next time, you know what I'm about to say. May your journey always be magical.